welcome to my channel. My name is Christina and I come to you from Lisbon, Portugal. So today is Friday and I would normally tell you about what I read this week, but I don't have much to say. I can tell you that I'm continuing with the City of God reading, Don Quixote and Shogun. So they are three massive books and I am slowly going through them. And that's what I have to say, because there's nothing except that I have to say that Cervantes is disgusting sometimes, because there are some awful scenes that I have a sensitive stomach and I don't have much capacity of thinking or reading about gross things like, and I'll give you an example, two characters vomiting in each other's mouths. Okay, that's all I have to say about my reading this week. So I decided to do some tags, or to be more precise, I'm going to do 1 1/5 of a tag. The first tag is by, it's the Skip to My Loo tag, which is an original tag by Daniel from GuiltyFeat. And when I commented on Rose from Scallydandling about the book's take on this, she told me, do this tag. So I was tagged in her comments. And so I'm going to try and do it because it's a very tiny tag. And then I'll tell you about the other one. So, do you read in the loo or bathroom? I don't tend to read. Sometimes I do take my iPad and do, for example, Wordle or something like that. But it's on purpose that nowadays I tend not to read. Because when I was a kid, I would read a lot at my parents' house. Sometimes there were some books there, but normally I would take mine. My problem is that I would also do that because I'm one of 6 brothers and sisters, and I always loved to be part of a big family, but I'm a very introvert person and I need my time alone a lot. And so one way of getting it would be by hiding in the bathroom. But if I went, as people do, to the loo, for example, and if I carried a book, I would forget time and be sitting there for, I don't know, until my legs wouldn't work, because first they started tingling and then they were completely with no circulation at all. So I couldn't then walk because of that. And because that's not very healthy, also being like that is also not very healthy for other stuff, like, and this is TMI, but for example, many people can have hemorrhoids or other problems. And so I try to be as quick as possible in my use of the loo. So I don't normally read, especially nowadays, in the bathroom. As I said, when I was a kid. Oh, but something I did, even as an adult, when my son was younger, or as I said, when I lived in my parents' houses, is to go to the bathroom, close the door, sit on the lid of the loo and read. So to be left alone, okay? So I would pretend to be in the loo and doing something else, but I was just reading. If yes, what do you consider appropriate reading material and an appropriate format for such a place? As I said, when I was a kid, and even as a grown up, I would take the book I wanted to read. Um, wouldn't discriminate or think this is appropriate for the bathroom. But I know that some people do. I remember in my well, parents and brothers and sisters, because it's a summer house we have that we share in a village nearby, and in one of the bathrooms of that house has lots of books that I don't know who put them there. If it was my mother or my brothers and sisters, I don't know. But one of the books is a big book, which is a kind of a one-volume encyclopedia with lots of smallish entries. So that might be one entertaining book for a quick read if you go to the bathroom. Another, in my mom's house here in Lisbon, they have some magazines there, also some comic books. I guess that would also be appropriate because they are quick reads. Number 3, pick a book you have read with at least a tenuous connection to Luz or Bath. I can't for the life of me remember any book, sorry. And when I think of this subject, what comes to my mind are 2 films. One is my God, now I cannot. I'm blanking on the title of the film. Pulp Fiction. Yes, with that, there's a scene where John Travolta is in the loo, and I don't remember what he's reading, whether it's a comic or something else. And also in the film, one of my favorite films, Shawshank Redemption, there's also a scene where a prison guard is in the loo, also reading something. So when I think of reading and loos in bathrooms, those are 2 scenes that come to my mind. And also a very old series, which was I, Claudius, with Derek Jacobi. And I remember, so he was a Roman emperor, and I remember a scene where he is in the loo. Those very old Roman loos that they had. So they were very advanced in what regards bathrooms, baths, and loos also. So skip to your loo and show us what reading material you keep there. So I'm not going to skip to my loo because I have no reading materials I have 2 bathrooms here in the house, and they don't have anything. I'm a little bit of a minimalist in those places like bathrooms and kitchens, because I'm a little bit obsessive with cleaning, and the less things you have, the easier it is to clean. So that's why I don't have extra stuff in those rooms, in any room actually. And that's the skip to my loo tag. And I don't know who to tag because let me see, who do I tag? Sandy from MsReads A lot. And who else? I really don't know. So I think that's for now, that's enough. And now, commercial break. And I'm going to answer the first 5 questions on enormous tag, which is let me open here the prompts. It is the I think it's called the Canterbury Tales book tag, which is an original tag by AJ Dunn. His channel is AJ Dunn Reads and Writes, something like that. I'm sorry, because I always think of the channel as AJ Dunn, and so I don't remember the complete name of the channel. But so this is inspired by the Canterbury Tales, which I actually read when I was at university, and I studied English and Portuguese language and literature. It was almost like two different courses together. And I remember that I had a Penguin book, classic Penguin, and we had to read and analyze it, but it was so many years ago that more than 30 years ago. So I didn't reread it, and I don't quite remember it well. And not long ago, I found this book in a bookshop near my house, and it was a very inexpensive book, kind of €5 or something like that, and I bought it. But so these are the Canterbury Tales, but they are written in the original Middle English. So I will try, but I will need the translation for modern, so for the current English, because this is quite difficult. I studied some Middle English in my university times. We had a subject which was, in several years we had it. It was called the history of English language, and I also had the history of Portuguese language, and they were actually linguistic subjects. So we studied the history of the language, and we studied those events that gradually changed the language from the early forms to the more modern forms. So I remember studying the Great Vowel Shift. I never forgot the name of the rules. I still have some notes that I took because I found that subject fascinating. And what I remember from the Middle English is that it was easier to read, because, especially, for example, for Portuguese people, because the way the words look and the way they are pronounced are very much like the Portuguese would, with a Portuguese who didn't know anything of English would be able to read it in an understandable way, understandable for the others who listen to him reading. Okay, but I'm curious. First of all, I want to reread the Canterbury Tales, and I want to read it with this version and a modern version. Okay, and that's the introduction. So the Canterbury Tales are several stories which are narrated by pilgrims in that go to Canterbury Cathedral, I think. And so each of the pilgrim tells his story. And the questions are, each question refers one character, one of the narrators of a story. And because these are 25 questions, and then 26 where they ask us to tag people. Because this is a very long one and I tend to talk slowly and a lot, I'm going to answer the first 5 questions today, and I will try to answer the other 20 in other episodes, so I will answer 5 at a time. Okay, so the first prompt says, the host is the character who relates the tales to the reader. He is large, loud, and merry. Recommend a mammoth book over 800 pages for March of the Mammoth. So, I already said that I'm reading City of God by St. Augustine is more than 1,000 pages. I'm reading Shogun, which I don't know how many pages. It's actually here in my Kindle app. Let me see. But it's a big book. I think, oh, and of course it is. We are reading it for the March of the Mammoth, so of course it is. It qualifies. But let me see. So my now that I'm reading this, so City of God has 1,091 pages. Now let me see. This one, Shogun, has 1,126 pages. Last year, I am reading, here I have the physical book. I'm reading, Don Quixote, and I'm reading it in Spanish, and it has, I'm not going to count the notes. So these are commentary and appendix about the language. So here this is about, so the story, let me see, so the end is in page 1106. And last year I read this here, which is War and Peace by Tolstoy. And this one also, without counting the, no, this book smells so good. So this one has 1,215 pages. So there you have it. Lots. I tend to like big books, I think. So now the other prompt, second prompt. The knight stands for fighting, war, and bravery. Recommend a book with a courageous main character. Oh, I forgot. Well, I can say that the main character of Shogun is quite brave. Yes, he is. I was trying to find, because I know that there are more characters that sometimes I think, wow, these people really brave. But I really can't remember anything now. I forgot to think a bit about this, which I should have. I thought about other questions, but this one I forgot. The wife of Bath stands for marriage, sex, and arguing. Tell us about a book with a strong female character. And here I brought this one because it's a character that I still think about, and I really think that she's a very brave woman. And this is by Anne Bronte, the tenant of Whitehall Hall, and I read it last year, and I found out that Anne Bronte is my favorite Bronte sister. So, the partner is all about ambiguity. Tell us about your favorite queer character. So here, I wasn't quite sure what it meant. If it was a character that fit on those letters, the LGBTQ, and there are more now, which I'm not, I don't remember quite well, but I thought of a character from a book I read last year. It was a buddy read with Danny from Spinelli Speaks, and we read Ursula K. Le Guin, The Left Hand of Darkness. And I think that Genly I, the main character, is the queerest of all, because he's the only human from Earth. I think he's from the planet Earth, and he goes to a planet where every other people, everyone in that planet has is what they call ambisexual, because they have two sexes which manifest at different times. So in a year, a man can be and look like a man, but then his body changes and he is like a woman. And then strange things can happen, like, for example, a man being pregnant. Why? Because in a moment of his year where he changes, it's kind of like in a woman's cycle. So from time to time they change. Sometimes they also can, I think that they can also change because they want. But it can happen that they're during their cycle where they are women, they can get pregnant, but then they revert to a man's form, but they are pregnant. So it's quite strange. But what is interesting is that, of course, the strange guy there is the main character, Genly Hai, because he cannot comprehend. So his mind cannot understand such a thing that happens to the people of this planet. So it's very strange for him to face this, but it's quite interesting. And so Genly Hai, the queer guy in that planet, I can't remember the name of the planet, but it was a kind of a winter planet. That's how he called it, because it was a very cold planet. The Miller is bold, blasphemous, and overturns conventions. Who is your favorite naughty character? I must have read a lot about naughty characters, but I always forget when I have these questions. But I remember last year I also read another Tolstoy, which it's also a hefty book. Let me see now. Yes, it's more than 800 pages, so 817, so almost doesn't fit. But this book, I liked it a lot, and has several characters, and I'm looking at the list of characters because I don't remember. Oh, but I know it's the first character, I think, that is mentioned here in the what's his name? Stepan Arkadievich Oblonsky. So he's the prince. I think he's Prince. Yes, Oblonsky. He's Anna's brother, and he's quite naughty, but he's so nice at the same time. So even here in the text, at the beginning of the text, when they are, we follow him for the first few chapters, and they say that everyone liked him. So, but he's a naughty character. So those are my choices for the first 5 questions of this tag. I am enjoying the answers of everyone who is doing this tag. I really love to know about books, but it's also a little bit overwhelming because I love to know about books, and I'm always taking notes of the books people refer, and my TBR is growing and growing and growing nonstop. But that's okay. That's one of the things I like in BookTube. So now I'm going to tag Noah from everyone who reads it must converse, and Una and Krypto if they want to do it from the CodeX Cantina, and Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space. So those are my victims if they want to do this tag. And I will be doing or answering more questions in other episodes. So it's getting a little bit darker here, and I'll see you at least, I hope, next week.